Am I the asshole for not taking my husband with me to my sister's wedding party? I 31 have a mentally disabled sister. She has an intellectual disability. She's 27, understands many things but has mobility issues but nothing severe. She lives with my parents and needs assistance. A couple of months ago, shortly after my cousin's wedding, Mom told me my sister started crying, asking why she can't have a wedding and wear a white dress and be a bride. It's devastating and helpless to hear her speak like that. My aunt came up with an idea. Last week I received an invite via phone. My husband asked and I answered that it was a wedding invitation. He asked where it came from and I said my parents are having a wedding party for my sister. He looked at me shocked and asked me to explain, and I explained my parents wanted to have a wedding party for my sister where she gets to experience being a bride and wear a white dress like every other bride and enjoy the day. He said, "And the groom?" I said there's no groom and explained we were just having a small party for my sister to give her the opportunity to experience being a bride since she'll never actually be married and have a wedding due to her condition. My aunt came up with the idea and everyone thought it was a good idea. He was still stunned trying to process what I said. He then asked, "Are you people normal? Like, are you being serious right now? And your parents are actually going through with and funding this stupid idea?" He then burst out laughing out of the blue. I was annoyed. I walked away from him and he still laughed about it later, saying my parents probably have way too much money to waste apparently. And asked if we're getting this on the local news since it's a first. He didn't stop joking and making fun of it. The day of the party he came out the bathroom and was wearing suit, saying he can't believe he was playing along with this. And felt stupid to be wearing a suit for this party. I said he didn't have to because I won't be taking him with me. He stopped talking and didn't think I was serious. He just turned and walked out saying he was getting the car ready, but I told him no, he wasn't coming with me because after all, he said, I just don't trust him not to hurt my parents or sister with his jokes. And if he tried to go in there then I'd have my parents kick him out. He asked why I was treating him like this. I said because of his attitude. He argued that I should please forgive him for how he reacted and that anyone in his shoes would have reacted the same way. I just grabbed my stuff and walked out. He argued he was trying to show support but I was being harsh. I ended up going alone and he kept sulking afterward, saying he missed all the fun because of me and treated him as if he was a dog rather than my husband. I said he disrespected my sister and my family, but he insisted he loves my family and I deprived him of sharing their joy on my sister's big day. He even said this sarcastically. Few points to add. This isn't the first thing my parents have done for my sister. Because of being financially able, they successfully have made some of her previous requests possible. My husband said he reacted this because he thought my parents could have used the money to do something useful and profitable in the long run. But my sister's emotional health is a priority to us, the family, not just my parents. The party wasn't anything fancy but rather a small party with close family and friends. Not the asshole. He treated this as a joke when he was invited and sulked when he was uninvited for acting immaturely. It's a wonderful event that was thrown for your sister. Not the asshole. I think that was so nice of y'all to do for her. Your husband is a major awe. Laughing and making fun of the situation is absolutely disgusting of him. It takes a really shit person to do that. Not the asshole. Your husband is an ableist dick. My God. How could it possibly hurt to let your sister have a day of joy and celebration? Especially after living a life in a society insistent on othering her. Not the asshole. Not only was he the asshole, but he then tried to gaslight you about it, and that just shows a worrying lack of respect. Not the asshole. Hands clapping. I like your boundaries, and kudos for standing up for your sister and family in the face of his derision. Your husband was a major asshat. Not sure if this is his normal, but I really hope not for you. Anyway, I hope your sister loved her special day. What wonderful memories you all created for her and each other growing heart. So I am a huge wedding and etiquette snob and judge the heck out of all sorts of things. And what do I think about this party? I think it's an amazing and sweet gesture for your sister. So if one of the most judgmental wedding people ever who has never met your sister is supporting this, your husband damn well should be too. Not the asshole. You didn't treat him like a dog, he is a dog. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. That's some pretty awful behavior by your husband. I wouldn't stand for anyone talking about my sister that way. He frankly sounds pretty hateful towards disabled people in general. Am I the asshole for escorting my niece home after she messed with my daughter's doll? I, 34F, have a daughter, 11, and a niece, 7, that lives about 5 houses down from us. My daughter has a decently sized collection of dolls, ranging from American Girl to Baby Alive. She loves all of her dolls dearly and takes very good care of them and understands how precious her more expensive dolls are. Her favorite doll is an American Girl doll with very curly hair that needs to be taken care of gently, so whenever her cousin comes over she puts her up on a high shelf in her room and is very clear in saying that she cannot and will not play with her dolls on the high shelf. She paid for this doll entirely by herself, so it has lots of sentimental value as well. I don't find her behavior bad, and I'm happy she's setting a boundary, so as long as my daughter's rule is followed I don't interfere. Yesterday her cousin came over to play as she usually does on the weekends. Everything was going as usual until I heard my daughter screaming bloody murder. I went upstairs to find her doll clutched in her hands with straight hair. And a brush in my niece's hand. Turns out my daughter left to go use the bathroom and my niece climbed her nightstand to get her favorite doll and wanted to do her hair. I comforted my daughter, first telling her that this was a fixable thing, and that I'd put her doll's hair in rollers and she'd be fine. I sent her off to her dad so that he could take over while I took over with my niece. I tried explaining to her why touching my daughter's doll without her permission, especially after she had been told multiple times not to, was rude. My niece insisted my daughter was a bully for not letting her play with it and wouldn't budge. So I called my sister to make sure an adult was home, packed my niece's things and walked her home. Before we left I explained to her that she couldn't touch things my daughter did not want her to touch, despite her still not budging, and that she could come play again if she apologized. At the door I explained to my other sister, who was at their home at the time, what happened. I told her I'd call my sister later and that was it for the time being. Today my sister called me after I left her a voicemail and a text thread explaining everything. She told me her daughter cried saying her aunt and cousin were both bullying her, and proceeded to call my daughter's doll a stupid toy, and that my daughter should have just let her play with it in the first place. I continued to try and tell her my side, but she also wouldn't listen. I'm not really sure what to do. I've gotten lots of mixed opinions on this whole situation from friends and family. I kind of just want a verdict. My daughter renamed her doll, so I forgot what her original name was, but she's a Ruthie. I still don't know her last name or what collection she's from, but if you want to see her curls, there they are. Edit. So we've taken her hair out of the curlers, entirely ruined. There is quite literally no coming back unless I find a new method or a miracle happens. I'll probably just have to get her an entirely new wig. Let us all wish farewell to Angela's curls. Not the asshole. And your sis is raising one entitled kid. Maybe send her the bill for the doll and she'll realize it's not just a stupid toy, though more likely she'll call you a bully. NTA. No problem here. You reinforced your daughter's autonomy and boundaries in regard to her things. Not the asshole. It's your daughter's doll. She set a reasonable boundary. Your niece knew she wasn't to play with the doll and had to go out of her way to access it. Consequences for poor behavior isn't bullying, and your response was age appropriate. Not the asshole. Your daughter set a boundary and helped enforce it by keeping the doll out of the way. Your niece went out of her way to play with the toy that isn't for playing. Then she doubled down that she was right. She's 7. She broke a house rule. Unless she say something like your daughter was bullying her by teasing her about the doll she could only see not touch. She was not bullied. Her mom may be upset, but, family or not, kids who won't follow house rules don't get to come play. Not the asshole. I am glad you are one of these parents who respect that their children don't have to share their property. Your niece came to play, but instead she made your daughter feel horrible. Sorry, not sorry. You have to put your own child's well-being as priority. Besides, you didn't kick her out or anything, you took her back to her own home, making sure beforehand that there was an adult present. At 7, your niece should know how to behave. If she doesn't, and worse, if her parents encourage her to act this way, well, I feel sorry for her and people around. Not the asshole. Your daughter made it clear the doll was off limits and your niece didn't respect that. Good on you for standing your ground and defending your daughter's boundaries. By the way, I found this video on curling doll hair if it would help you out. Not the asshole. Your niece not getting her way doesn't mean she's being bullied. That's something antagonists say. Your sister is encouraging that mindset and it's frankly appalling. Boundaries are important to establish and enforce within reason. Respecting boundaries is equally important. The fact your sister went on the offensive and immediately said, "My daughter should get what she wants because it's a stupid toy." That's how people diminish the damage caused to deflect any wrongdoing. She's an asshole teaching her daughter poor behavior and gaslighting. Not the asshole. There were rules set regarding which dolls your niece could play with, and she broke the rules. The consequence was not getting to play with any dolls at all and having to go home. This is how kids learn that actions have consequences, and really, I'm not quite sure why you think you're an awe. Am I the asshole for refusing a souvenir and telling my mom I don't want to hear her stories? I am 19 and currently live with my mom. I have lived with her ever since I was 15 and she has a boyfriend who I will call Kent who does not live with us. Every year Mom and Kent go to this big fair together as a tradition. When I first moved in with Mom she often talked to me about how the fair is biggest in the area every year and went on about the huge rides and different stands there and about all the animals. Of course, excited to go. I asked if I would be going, and then Mom told me, "No, you can't go. It's something that's a tradition for only me and Kent." I understood since even adults need alone time together and Mom said, "I promise next year. I will take you on a different day after me and Kent go." That year, as a souvenir Mom brought me back some candy and a sweatshirt with the fair's name on it, neither which I asked for, but I still appreciated. Although never wore the sweatshirt cause it made me upset since it reminded me of the fair I'm not allowed to go to, although Mom was always upset I never wore it. Now to the current problem. Been 4 years since I first moved in with Mom. Every year she has promised to bring me next year, but never does, and every year she sends me pictures of what she sees at fair and tells me how much fun it is, along with posting it all on Facebook. The pics she sends usually include of stands that have pug items and I'm obsessed with pugs. This time I got upset at Mom when she sent the pics cause I still remembered the promise she has made every year for last 3 years and exploded on her in text. Asked her why she is sending me the pics I never asked for if I can never go, and told her that next year when she goes, I don't want to know about the fair or hear any of her stories cause I'm tired of her. Next year, promises that she never keeps. Then when she got home, she brought me a stuffed dog souvenir from the fair and another t-shirt with the fair's name on it. This time she was going back and forth about if she wanted me to have it or not and ended up giving it to me. I didn't want to ruin her happy mood, so I just accepted it. Then a few minutes later, after her excitement and stories were done, I decided to give her the shirt cause I knew I would never wear it and that it would just hurt me more emotionally. Of course, I never told her the reasoning. She looked upset but said, "Okay, I'll just keep it then," and I went back in my room. I feel so bad for doing all of this, but this year just made me really upset, and personally, I'm tired of seeing posts and hearing stories about a place I'm not allowed to go to. Not to mention the empty promises that just get my hopes up every year, but I feel like I should have just dealt with it like I have the last few years so that I don't hurt her. IDK. I really feel like a hole for being rude and exploding on her like that. So can anyone tell me, am I the asshole? Edit. Thank you all for your advice. I really thought I was wrong for getting upset like that and blind to how manipulative and narcissistic Mom is. So thank you everyone who helped open my eyes to realize how this isn't normal, and I will work to get my life started faster. Smile. NTA. But you are 19. Go to the fair with your friends. And stop making excuses why you can't get your DL or IT or whatever. Go with a friend. Take a bus. Take a train. If you want to go, go. You're an adult. Time take the bull by the horns, so to speak. Not the asshole. You have every right to be upset for being strung along year after year. If Mom is unlikely to change her ways, perhaps you could go with a friend of yours and start your own tradition? Not going to judge on this one. But you are 19. If this was about going to the fair, you could just go by yourself or with friends. So it seems, not any sort of professional. I could be wrong. More like this is about wanting to have a fun time with your mother, about broken promises, and about feeling rejected in some way. Perhaps it would help if you arranged a day out with your mother, somewhere else. Start your own annual tradition, without Kent. Not the asshole. Your mom can clearly not keep a promise. As a mom myself, I find it rather appalling that she insists on only going with her boyfriend. Yes, they want alone time, but what keeps her from going with you another time as well? Is time with him more important than time with you? Info. Sure, mail gets lost sometimes, but is your mom home when the mail's delivered? If, and that is a big fat if, your mom grabbed the SS letter before you saw it, there's something else going on. Never replacing a SS card for your child is super weird. Not the asshole. You and your mom are adults and can communicate as such. If you don't want something, say it. It shouldn't cause rifts. Not the asshole. If your mom had no intention of taking you, then she is just cruel, rubbing it in by telling you how amazing it is. Not the asshole. Your mom is playing some game. She knows you want to, she lies and says she will take you, then doesn't. Tell her that instead of gifts, you'd like to go, so please don't buy you any more gifts or talk about how awesome it is. I understand it's not about the fare, it's about your mom's insensitivity and broken promises to you. Am I the asshole for giving ultimatum to wife to start working? Hi, I am 35M, wife 34F. We have 2 kids. I am the main breadwinner of the family. I make good money, but since we are in a very high cost of living area, we live in a small townhouse. Now that we have 2 kids, I feel she should also work to help us save more money for a bigger house. She hasn't worked a day since our marriage, 7 years. We got pregnant right after we got married, and she says it's my fault that she became a mom so early and now feels that I am responsible for her not getting a job. To be fair to her, I was very excited to be a dad. She started going back to college, but then we got pregnant with the second one. The pandemic started and she dropped all her courses and doesn't want to go back to studying or working. She just loves to spend her time with the kids. She is an amazing mom to our kids. She insists that her staying at home saves a lot of money for daycare. Again, can't disagree with her as the cost of childcare is super high. Over the course of our marriage we have saved up some good money and also bought a small house, which wouldn't be possible without her. But I feel her staying at home isn't helping her either. She feels it's okay for her to stay since she takes care of the home and the kids. I also help out, like cooking twice a week, cleaning, occasionally, teaching the kids. She is a traditional woman and I respect that. But if we want to give kids a separate bedroom each and a yard, occasional vacations, extra classes like swimming, sports, I feel her working is necessary. I can buy a bigger house of my own accord, but I don't want to be house poor and not having any savings for the future. Also, I keep telling her that the world has become very unpredictable these days. Having 2 people working eases the mind also. I recently gave her an ultimatum that she has to find work or it's going to be a problem. I feel like we have hit rock bottom after that. She says she is okay living in a small house. I feel like she is just saying because she doesn't work. I also bought her a car even though she hardly drives. She expects me to drive her everywhere. She feels like that's a man's duty. I am happy to do that for long-distance stuff, but even short distances she doesn't like to drive. I take her and the kids out every weekend, take them on nice vacations at least twice a year. We can afford all this because she doesn't spend otherwise, and we only buy stuff during Thanksgiving or deals. But I am at a point where I want to go the next level, like buy a big house and have a big closet and have more shower space. She is not a name brand type person, but more like nice vacations and nice restaurants kind of person. I am also like that, and that is why we have loved being married so far. But I feel now that we have 2 kids, we have to step it up and provide a bigger house. Give them the best while also enjoying some luxury ourselves. Overall, I want her to be a bit more independent. Am I the asshole for giving her an ultimatum to find work? Nah, yet. But you realize that if your wife goes back to work, you're going to have to step up a lot when it comes to looking after your children and cleaning your house, right? This is going to put a lot more work squarely on you. If you're not willing to take on a fair 50% of the work at home, back away from forcing your wife to get a job or you'll become the arsehole for sure. Keep in mind that she's already working, your kids are young and still require quite a bit of looking after, not to mention cleaning up after. Women who have a job and do most of the housework are less happy and die younger. They're also more likely to get a divorce. You are the asshole. Your wife is expected to get a full-time job, as well as take care of the home and kids? Stop being selfish before you ruin your marriage. Are you willing to sacrifice your marriage and children's upbringing, just to enjoy the finer things in life? It doesn't make sense for your life at the moment. Maybe later on when the children are older and can take care of themselves better. Don't get lost trying to keep up with the Jones. You might just lose your partner and children. Nah. Eventually your kids are going to want a room each, or potentially it may be practically required for other reasons, though. You're talking about how you go on vacation twice a year, this, that and the other, while saying that you can't set aside enough to save up for a bigger house. So start budgeting your vacations better. If she can't handle the drop in lifestyle, maybe that alignment of incentives will change something. You are the asshole not for wanting her to work per se, but for giving her an ultimatum even though you say you're not going through economical hardship. You just want more luxury and money in your life, even if that means making your wife's life miserable by forcing her to take on a job she doesn't want nor need and forcing her to spend less time with your kids, even though you say she's a great stay-at-home mom. I get the feeling that you worry too much about luxury, money, and showing off. I might be in the wrong. The car thing has nothing to do with your question about work. You are the asshole for the ultimatum. Are your kids in school? That would open up more of window for working. But you've gone about this in a horrible way. Seems you expect her to work to buy you a larger home. Info. So when everything is working well and you can have vacations etc. plus having a small house which seems to be not for everyone but you. Where is the problem with your wife staying home? I mean yeah your arguments are pretty good but it seems like extra money is not necessary for surviving. Sure it would be nice to have more but it seems like you are unhappy with the money and stuff you already own. You are the asshole. Despite her wanting you to drive everywhere which I think is silly. Sounds like she likes the life she has. Why should she has to work because you want more? Besides, her working would not bring that much more money since you'd have to pay for daycare. So would it that worth it for her to work? Hardly see her kid during the week or even on weekends so that you can fulfill your dreams of having a bigger house and luxury vacations? You are the asshole. Sounds like the kids are still young, not in school and you are devaluing the full-time plus job your wife is doing raising your kids and caring for your home. If you want her to go to work, will you also expect her to put the same effort into the child raising and homemaking, as well as the new job? Or will you be back on here complaining about her being lazy for suddenly not doing all the jobs she used to do? Will you commit to doing more around the house? Or will you pay for daycare, housekeeping, negating her income completely?